It's not like I'm doing the releasing. I support the body so that it releases itself.
Today we are here with Carolyn Dalton. She is a co-founder of the Stretch Space here in Vancouver, BC. She's a space for stretch therapy, breathwork, and movement education. And Carolyn is a fascial stretch therapist, a myofascial release therapist, a movement educator, breathwork facilitator, and an embodiment coach. So thank you so much for joining us today on Living Body Connection. So how did this begin for you? How did you get into this work?
Yeah, as long as I can remember, I've been dancing and moving, and I think I've just always felt like the most myself and the most at home in my body and in this world when I'm really deeply connected to my body. That inspired, a childhood of dance, exploring all kinds of dance forms, and then pursuing dance as a career at university, and then in New York City at Elvin Ailey American Dance Theater. And then, just finding my way in the dance world, and then kind of getting beat up, both physically and emotionally, and then finding my way kind of out of my body and then back into my body through somatic practices, healing modalities, and more movement on more of the healing spectrum, which is what I do now. I like to say that like my pain in my body that had been built up over the years was really the catalyst for getting into the work that I do now.
So let's talk a little bit about fascia. Here at the Stretch Space, you work a lot with fascia. You do fascial stretching, myofascial release. So what is fascia, first of all, and how do you work with it here at the Stretch Space?
So fascia is like it's a whole world. And I like to think of it as it's like a world within our bodies. And there's many like lenses and angles you can look at it through. Just from a pure physical standpoint, it's connective tissue. So it's the connective tissue system in our bodies. Fascia is made up of all different kinds of collagen fibers and water. It's mostly water, and it's like this gel kind of goo-like substance that creates these sheaths that like goes over every muscle, every organ, and it connects everything in our body together and kind of gives us shape and holds us together. And for a really long time, scientists and people studying the human body were studying on dead people, on cadavers, and they would take the fascia off, and they just thought, oh, this is packaging material. Let's get rid of this so that we can get to the muscle and study the muscle, because that's what everyone was interested in. And then over time, it's kind of really only been the last like 30 or so years that they've been keeping the fascia on and being like, okay, what's up with this substance that's everywhere? Obviously, it has some function and some purpose. So there's been like a big surge in fascia research over the last 30 years or so, and it just keeps evolving and keeps unraveling, and it's so fresh and new. And like anything in science, it's very slow. It takes a long time for like the current discoveries to actually make it into mainstream, make it into the textbooks, make it into the universities. I've had the privilege of kind of crafting my own educational path. I don't have like a typical educational path, but I've been able to study with select people around the world that I've really been drawn to and have learned a lot about like the recent discoveries in fascia.
A lot of that information isn't even in a typical degree, right?
No.
So you're like the leading experts are people that you've been learning with.
And people really who have pioneered this work, like John Barnes. He's in his 80s and has been working with the fascia for a very long time, like 50 years, like even long before there was any like scientific proof. And now a lot of like his theories are being proven by science. And then Anne and Chris Frederick, who developed fascial stretch therapy, them as well.
Yeah, it's so beautiful. I feel like it's the thing that brings it all together.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's like we can start seeing the body as a holistic living organism. And for me, the fascia is the connector. It's the thing that makes it all make sense.
Well, another piece about fascia, it's not just connective tissue. Like it is, that's what it is physically. And you can look at it with a microscope and see all the microtubules and all the things that are happening. But when we do look at it microscopically, we see that it's your brain in your body, and it's consciousness in your body. It's the universe in your body. So I really love like looking at the body from a fascial perspective, and it's a great way to meet people where they're at, right? So if I have a client who, you know, is coming in and I can tell they're just more here for the physical work, and, you know, they've got some aches and pains and they've got some shifts in their structure, I'll look at that. And I'm always kind of feeling in to the fascial system.
I love that.
And people might say, how do you do that? It's like, it's the moment someone walks in the door, I see them move, and then I touch them, and then we breathe together. And then even through dialogue that we have, I can get a sense of like, what aspect of the fascial system are we working with here? And it really varies client to client.
How do you work with fascia with your clients? Tell us a little bit about fascial stretch, myofascial release.
Again, the work that we do here, it can have different doorways depending on what people need and want and are ready for. So yeah, I like to start with the physical body, right? We'll look at someone's structure, and we can talk about this in a moment.
Ooh,
but
yes.
tensegrity. So like if this is the body, you know, I'm looking at like overall balance. So if something like really stands out to me, like a shoulder is kind of like pulled over here, you know, and that's where my eye's going, then I'm like, okay, now something somewhere else has to be shifting in the other direction to keep the balance, the integrity of the structure. So I'm kind of search through the body for those patterns, and that's usually where I start. And then we'll get on the table or we'll work on the floor wherever we're working, and I'll just begin to feel and move those areas.
Looking to release tension or redistribute tension.
It's not like I'm doing the releasing. I support the body so that it releases itself. So through the work, like, you know, we'll hold the body, let the client really breathe into it, bring sensory awareness there, do some slow, gentle movements to wake up the tissue, to wake up the awareness. And then we might go into some deeper stretches. We might hold things for a long time. We might do more wavy movements. It's really a dance with the nervous system. And yeah, the breath is a very key component to that, because if we're not breathing in a relaxed way, then the brain and body are not gonna,
they're not connected.
They're not gonna feel safe with each other.
So there's a connection between the nervous system and the fascia as well.
Absolutely, 100%. Yeah, when we're in fight flight, the fascia is engaged. It's on, it's ready. And you know, if we've been holding ourselves in positions, I always love to use the computer posture. You know, if you've been doing this at work for 30 years, like your body remembers the positions you put it in most. So there's going to be a lot of very strong holding patterns. And a lot of times those patterns have an emotional connection or a nervous system connection. So if you've been in some sort of trauma or shock or just ongoing repetitive movement, there's going to be like a internal emotional dialogue to that shape. So it requires very slow, mindful unwinding.
I could talk about fascia forever. It's so interesting. It's such a fascination to me. It's like everything comes together in fascia. If you were to give viewers one tip for how they can begin to connect with their fascia, what would it be?
The first thing that comes to my mind is lie down on the floor. Become friends with the floor. I try to get all my clients to do this, where, you know, people are often looking for like the one fancy stretch or the one special exercise to like solve all their problems. And honestly, lie down on the ground, allow your body to be heavy and to be supported by the floor. Breathe and just notice your structure. So notice like if there's parts of you that like, you know, can easily soften into the floor, and if there's parts of you that are kind of held. And for a lot of people, lying down on like a hard floor like this is quite uncomfortable. So stay there for a while, lay on the floor for 15, 20, 30, 60 minutes and just like go on a little internal journey and get to know your holding patterns, get to know your structure. If movement wants to arise, let it, right? If you feel more comfortable with your knees bent, or if you get a sudden urge to reach an arm over your head, like trust that wisdom and follow where it feels thick. You know, if there's like, you're always like, oh, there's just something here. It's like, okay, follow that. What's that? You know, you don't need to do a big stretch. Actually, don't do that. That's just going to activate the stretch reflex and keep you tight. So like explore that, breathe into it. Fascia really takes time to remodel, and ultimately we all have a different fascial system. You know, there's 8 billion people on the planet. There's 8 billion different fascial systems, just like your fingerprint. So only you know what your body needs.
One thing I hear you coming back to is this innate wisdom, or connecting to something that kind of knows where it's going or how to unfold. I wonder if you could speak a little bit about working with the wisdom of the body.
If I could like share like what I do is I help people discover and trust the wisdom of their own bodies. I mean, our bodies are always telling us exactly what we need, and our bodies are always doing exactly what it needs. So to know that, right? Our bodies are so smart. Like things don't just happen. But yeah, our bodies always know what they're doing, and it's just a matter of if we're listening. And that's a skill and like a muscle that we can flex with training and with time and practice. And there's so many different practices that bring us back home to your body. And it's like whatever that is for you, whether it's dance or martial arts or stretching or massage or whatever it is great. It's just like flexing that muscle of being able to listen and trust what you feel. And I think in a world where we've been so conditioned to outsource to experts, and we're so conditioned to find the answers outside of us, we need to come back here even more.
What is the most effective method or activity that you have in your life to bring you into mind-body connection?
Great question. I mean, dance. You know, dancing has been the constant in my life. Right now, I'm really exploring the form of contact improvisation. So it's improvised dance with a partner where you're sharing weight. And there's a lot going on in that practice. So I'm currently jazzed on that. Surprisingly, another practice that I'm into right now is weightlifting. So going to the gym, you know, just feeling my muscles really work. And that's been very supportive for my body and my nervous system, actually.
Yeah, I love that there's no prescribed. It's exactly what you say. Like, what is it for your nervous system, for your fascia, for your body, for your needs, what you enjoy. I love that it can be diverse.
And we often need what doesn't necessarily come naturally to us. Like practices like dance and yoga and like slow, kind of soft, flowy movement. Like that's like what comes naturally to me. That's what I like. That's what I've spent a lot of time practicing and studying. So this like weightlifting thing is like really cool. When I kind of got over the fear of it, and it's helped like repattern my body.
I want to get into lifting too.
It's cool.
We always need balance,
I think I'm
right?
gonna go to the gym after this.
Pump some iron.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay, we've reached the point of our interview where I'm gonna ask Carolyn to lead us through a short embodiment practice. So I will hand it over to you, Carolyn, to lead us through something.
Yeah, amazing. Can we get up and move a
little?
little?
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, so to keep it short, this is a really good way to like start to feel your fascia, your fascial system a little bit. So we're going to do a little bouncing and tapping. So yeah, so just take a moment before we begin. Feel free to close your eyes. Feel your feet on the floor. Allow your belly to be soft and allow your spine to float up to the sky. Just take a couple breaths here into your whole body, noticing how you are in this moment. Noticing if there's any areas of tension or anything that you're holding on to. And then when you're ready, just begin to really slowly kind of bounce your knees. Get some size there. Yeah, we can even bounce our diaphragm by going. So you can start to bounce a little more and let it kind of go up into your shoulders and arms and maybe your head. You can bring arms up over your head and just bounce, bounce, bounce. Okay, now let that go. Okay, now we're gonna wake up our kind of superficial fascia through some tapping. So let's do just one arm to start, because this is kind of interesting. So just tap up and down one arm and go all the way up to the traps, all the way into the armpits, all around that arm. And this is helping to wake up the nerve endings in the superficial fascia. It helps to bring awareness, proprioception, and just that tactile sensation. Now give it a little brush. Okay, and then just pause there and just notice what you feel. Notice the difference between the arm you tapped and the arm you didn't tap. And then you can try floating both arms up and just notice if you feel any difference.
My arm feels way heavier, like not heavy, but like there's more gravity and it feels more connected to my whole body. Yeah, more alive.
So if you do that to your whole body, tap your body, it wakes up your proprioception, starts to wake up the fascia so that you can actually feel. And then when you can feel, when your brain can actually sense where your body is, then we can get in there, right? Beautiful. And we can move. And for so many of us that are so stuck in these positions, we don't even know.
We don't know what we don't know.
We don't know. And you can't move what you can't feel.
This is relevant to anyone who uses their body. Like any athlete, any dancer,
if you're a human
with a body.
If you're a human with a body, just dive into your fascial system.
If you were to leave viewers, I know you already gave a tip about fascia, but if you were to leave viewers with one key takeaway for how they can just begin to connect to their bodies, what would it be?
I swear.
You can definitely
slow the F down.
Yeah.
Slow down. Put your feet on the earth, ideally barefoot. Yeah, look at a tree, a plant, Remember that we are nature. Yeah, especially if we live in a city like this. We forget. And I think when we remember that we are nature and we need all the things that plants need, we need good nourishment, we need water, we need sunlight, we need air,
attention,
connection, we need each other.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah. Beautifully said. Do you have any exciting classes, weekly classes, workshops, trainings? What kinds of offerings do you hold here at the Stretch Space that you can share with us?
Well, we're available here all of the time for one-on-one sessions with myself or my team members who are all amazing for stretch therapy and breathwork. And then we have some trainings coming up for folks who are interested in diving deeper into the fascial system and learning a form of body work that is rooted in the fascial system. We have our level 1 assisted stretch therapy training in September, and then level 2 practitioner certification in November. So those are our 2 big fall courses coming up. And then we also have a 3-month breathwork facilitator training that is really rooted in this stuff as well, even though it is focused on conscious connected breathwork practice. We do a lot of hands-on body work in our breath facilitation style. So a lot of these concepts are brought through in that.
So many amazing offerings here at the Stretch Space. It's in Kitsilano, so for anyone in Vancouver, beautiful space and in a great neighborhood. So definitely check it out. Carolyn, how can people find you?
All things Stretch Space can be found at thestretchspace.com, and we're on Instagram at thestretchspace. And then I'm Carolyn Dalton, and that's just my name on Instagram as well.
Awesome. Amazing. Well, thank you so much for chatting with me about fascia, body connection, wisdom of the body. It's been really beautiful to explore these topics with you. And thank you everyone for watching. We'll see you next time. Hopefully I pressed record.
Oh, yeah.